See, now the computer was just painting a desired flight path above the ground, and you can now see the radar terrain trace that it paints for the two pilots on their vertical situation display. You can see the terrain ahead of us is fairly flat and rolling. A few valleys out here. This is marked out in nautical miles ahead of the aircraft, with the aircraft being here. So we can see, the radar sees at least 10 miles in front of the aircraft, and we can see the terrain ahead of us 10 miles out. At the speeds we fly, at almost the speed of sound, about Mach 0.9 or 0.95, the 10 miles then is about 1 minute of flying time away. You can see now we've got a real good valley that we're descending into, and here's then the back side of the valley heading back up the mountain at about 5 miles.
The practice target is attacked using dummy bombs. At such a low altitude, the bombs have parachute retarders to prevent them from exploding underneath the aircraft. With the training mission accomplished, the B-1B heads back to base. The two officers who sit in the aft station of the B-1B bomber control the aircraft weapons and the aircraft defenses. The B-1B is heavily computerized, and their functions bear little resemblance to the classic bombers of World War II.
The pilot team are responsible for driving the aircraft or flying the airplane, if you will, and make sure that we get to where we need to go. But for me as a navigator bombardier, offensive systems officer, my chief job is to navigate our aircraft to the target, drop our weapons, get them on target, and then get us home. Defensive systems officer, my counterpart in the aft station, he makes sure that we are able to get there. He defends the airplane against enemy threats. As a defensive systems officer on board the aircraft, I'm primarily concerned with the navigation and weapons delivery. And I'm mainly concerned with the equipment that's from the middle of the aircraft on over here to the right. I'm in charge of applying a power to the navigation equipment itself, inertial navigators, the core electronics or the core computers for the system itself, bombing and navigation, and able to update the inertial navigators as we're flying along and make sure that we're able to hit our targets. This is what we call a CNAV summary. It lists the present position of the aircraft, the time to go to our next destination, what time we're going to get there, how far away we are from it, and then parameters like what the magnetic heading is to it, what the wind velocity and vector is. And this display also lists what radar aim points are going to be left or right of the nose of the aircraft as we're coming up on them, so I can aim at them. When I get down to aiming, I use the tracking handle to move my crosshairs onto the aim point, and I know exactly what the latitude and longitude of this aim point is going to be. So if I move the crosshairs onto the aim point, I'll be able to see exactly how far my inertial navigator has drifted off from where it actually should be. Then I can update the inertial navigator by using this method, and that way we can assure bombs on target, and that's the name of the game, is bombs on target. We have 3 weapons bays on board the aircraft as opposed to 1 weapon bay on the B-52. Internally, the aircraft is capable of carrying up to 24 gravity nuclear weapons or short-range attack missiles or air-launched cruise missiles. That's what the aircraft is capable of carrying. That's quite a lot of ordnance in one piece, in one place. The B-52, on the other hand, can't carry nearly as much, internally that is.
Besides conventional or nuclear bombs, the B-1B can also carry 2 types of nuclear missiles, the SRAM and the air-launched cruise missile.
SRAM, the acronym for Short-Range Attack Missile. The missile itself was developed in the late 1960s, early 1970s as a weapon that bombers could use as they're ingressing to a target. One way to employ them could possibly be as you're ingressing to a target, you may want to take out enemy defenses here and there to make sure that you can get to your targets. And the short-range attack missile, we just launch the missile and it goes out and strikes those targets as we're going inbound to another release. Air-launched cruise missiles, on the other hand, are are, you could call them a standoff weapon, if you will. You can stand off outside of harm's way and launch the air-launched cruise missile from high altitude, and the weapon will just navigate itself to its own target.
During World War II, the main threat to bombers came from enemy fighter planes. The bombers defended themselves against enemy fighters with machine guns and could be escorted by friendly fighters. The B-52 bomber of the 1950s, like its World War II ancestors, carries a single automatic cannon in its tail. The B-1B has no guns to defend itself because the threat to bombers has changed. Since the 1960s, the main enemy of the bomber is no longer the enemy fighter, but the surface-to-air missile. Modern anti-aircraft missiles rely on radar to find the bomber and guide the missile to hit the bomber. So to defend the B-1B against the deadly missiles, it is necessary to defeat the radars that guide it. This is the task of the defensive systems officer using electronic countermeasures.
We don't have any active or any lethal defense as a gun, and the reason for that is it's really not needed. The B-1 is whole design is designed so we don't need that. Our low radar cross-section, which is approximately 1% that of the B-52 is a head-on shot, is our big advantage. The importance of low radar cross-section, especially in a penetrating bomber, is that the operator on the ground who's controlling, say, surface-to-air missiles or artillery guns trying to shoot us down, he doesn't have the ability to see us as easily as a target with a large radar cross-section. What we mean by that is on his scope, usually get a blip, let's say that generic term. Now, he won't be able to see us at all, or if he does, it'll be a small blip. Hopefully, he won't be able to pick us up at all. Therefore, if he can't see us, he can't shoot us down. And we have the low radar cross-section because we don't have any external antennas in that, and our high speed. We don't need any active or lethal defense. We do carry electronic countermeasures, which we use really as a last resort. Our main mission is to go run silent into the threat area, so they'll never see us. And that's our main mission. But if they do see us, as a last resort, we will use our electronic countermeasures for ground and air threats. We also carry expendables, chaff, and flares against infrared homing missiles.
Future generations of strategic bombers like the B-2 stealth bomber promise to be virtually invisible to enemy radar.